So Senegal, a West African French-speaking country, has now had a new president and the youngest since 1960, since it got its independence. Bassirou Diomaye Faye, a left-wing Pan-Africanist, was sworn in today in an event attended by some African leaders, including our president, Bola Tinubu. He's Senegal's youngest president after sweeping to a first-round victory on the pledge of radical reforms 10 days after he was released from prison. The 44-year-old has never before held any political or elected office, for several African leaders attended the ceremony in the new town of the Aniado. But what lesson does this have on African politics and leadership? Let's speak to a former presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, who joins us live from New Jersey in the United States. Thank you so much, Sowore, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you for bringing me.
Let's talk about Mr. Faye, who has now become Senegal's new president. What is your view, first and foremost, about this transition in Senegal?
Well, it's important to mention that when Africans were yearning for independence, they actually went for very young, vibrant people. And the question we keep asking ourselves is, at what point did we lose that ability to have young people, vibrant, intelligent young people, lead the African continent? And you would notice that this happened as a result of colonialism. The colonial masters weren't too comfortable with young, vibrant, radical African leaders. And that was what led to the death of Lumumba and a bunch of presidents that were kicked out of office by the collusion of local African, betrayers and these political colonial leaders all over Africa. So this is not the first time. Even in Nigeria, the first crop of leaders that came up after independence were in their 20s. The man who first moved the motion for Nigeria's independence, that's late Chief Tony Enahoro, was his 20s. You know, the Zigs of this world, Bafemi Awolowo, they weren't old people, but again, over time, we lost that opportunity to have vibrancy. And that's why you see Africa the way it is today. But it's interesting that the majority of the people I'm seeing there, this swearing in, are the same old African leaders who would not allow the youth to have a chance. But there's a lesson to be learned from Senegal, that this presidential change of baton did not happen by accident. It was through serious revolutionary struggle. You can imagine someone who came from prison 10 days before and became president of Senegal, when, as a matter of fact, the man who was there didn't want to leave, and he had postponed the election very recently to an unknown date, but he was heavily resisted, and that's how Senegal came about this. So everybody who is celebrating this must also understand that freedom comes out of struggle.
So, I'm more concerned about two things. I'm talking about the politics of Senegal tonight, but not dwelling on those events. We're trying to draw lessons and inspiration from what happened and perhaps what we can glean and learn from it as a people. Political participation first and foremost. For a 44-year-old to become a president, the man has never been into any elected office before now. That is audacious. That is a lot of vision, isn't it?
It is, and this was where we were coming from. When we started our political movement in 2018, and people were saying, well, you need experience. And we kept telling them, experience is not going to take you anywhere, because it's experienced politicians that put Nigeria in the condition that it is today. Experienced thieves, experienced murderers, killers, corrupt people. And now you've seen it in Senegal, that you don't actually need experience. You need leaders that have vision, people who are motivated to lead their people. I must make a caveat here that until we see the performance of these particular persons who have taken over power in Senegal, we should not celebrate too quickly, because we've had young people in Nigeria lead. The guy that just left Kogi is very young, and look at the way he left the state. And this is what I've always said, that my problem is not with old age. My problem is with old ideas of African leaders. They have no new ideas. And you can have some young people who live through very difficult old ideas, like the likes that we've had in Kogi, not just one, the senator from there, the governor there, and several other persons who are young people who are disgracing their youthfulness.
You're not yourself a young person any longer. You've crossed the 50-year mark.